The story of Daniel Ricciardo has taken a surprising twist. It seemed like his time with Racing Bulls was over, especially after the emotional Singapore Grand Prix. But now, the pressure is building up on the team. His backers aren't happy with how things are playing out, and they're pushing Racing Bulls to reconsider. Meanwhile, Liam Lawson, the rising talent, eagerly waits for his shot. But will money and sponsorships ultimately decide who stays and who goes? Could this be a turning point for Racing Bulls, a decision that could change their future? Stick around, because what happens next is nothing short of a game changer. The Singapore Grand Prix was a roller coaster of emotions, especially for Ricciardo. During the post-race interview, he was seen tearing up, contemplating that it might be his last drive in Formula One. That's why he took his time in the cockpit, soaking in every moment. Christian Horner had hinted earlier that Ricciardo was to back Perez if things went south for the Mexican driver in 2024. But things aren't that simple. Ricciardo brings more to the table than just racing skills. His financial backing is massive, thanks to sponsors who joined the sport because of his charisma. For example, Visa's entry into Formula One was largely due to his presence. And it's not just Visa, other companies have stood behind him, banking on his charm. However, when results start to decline, teams like Racing Bulls often look towards the future. That's why they're eyeing Lawson as a potential full-time racer for 2024. Yet in Formula One, it's not always about pure performance. Money often dictates the rules. It's no secret that in Formula One, financial power can outweigh talent. Ricciardo's situation with Racing Bulls highlights this stark reality. Take Lance Stroll, for instance, who maintains his seat primarily due to his father's ownership of the team. Similarly, Ricciardo's future now hangs on the balance of sponsorship deals. Two major Racing Bulls sponsors have expressed concern about whether he will continue with the team beyond 2024. It's a delicate issue. We've seen before how paid drivers like Nicholas Latifi and Nikita Mazepin lost their spots, followed by an immediate withdrawal of their sponsors. This left their teams scrambling to secure new funding sources. However, Ricciardo is far from a mere paid driver. Racing Bulls have indeed improved their standing compared to last year, climbing 2 positions in the Constructors' Championship. Yet, without Ricciardo, their exposure, screen time, and public interest could plummet. Fans don't dislike Liam Lawson, in fact, they are eager to see new talent shine. But there's more at stake here. Ricciardo's story isn't just about racing, it's about the significant sponsors backing him, like Visa and Cash App. These are not minor players, they're title sponsors. To understand their importance, imagine it as Oracle protesting Red Bull dropping Perez, or Aramco disagreeing with Aston Martin dismissing Lance Stroll. The stakes are that high. An F1 photographer, who closely followed Ricciardo throughout the Singapore GP, hinted that while it seemed like Ricciardo was saying his final goodbye to the sport, things might not be that simple. Interestingly, despite rumors, Lawson hasn't officially received a call from Racing Bulls about replacing Ricciardo. This uncertainty is unusual. Ricciardo acted like his career was coming to an end, yet nothing has been confirmed. Even Christian Horner's recent comments softened compared to his earlier critiques. He mentioned that a thorough evaluation of driver performances is underway, suggesting there might be more in play than what meets the eye. Dr. Helmut Marko previously stated that after the Singapore GP, the future of both Red Bull and Racing Bulls would become clearer. However, things are still murky, especially with Visa and Cash App now actively involved. They joined the sport largely due to Ricciardo's influence, but if the results aren't there, justifying Ricciardo's continued presence on the team becomes tough for these sponsors. Unless he finds a sudden spark of form that makes him a contender for the Red Bull seat again, Visa and Cash App might reconsider their partnership. This is a delicate situation for Red Bull. If they don't align with the sponsors' wishes, there's a real threat of them withdrawing. This isn't just a small hiccup. AlphaTauri, formerly Toro Rosso, was nearly closed or sold off because of financial strains until sponsors like Visa stepped in. So these companies wield significant power over who drives for the team. Ricciardo's sponsors are here for him, not necessarily to support Red Bull's future talents like Lawson. Now, the decision lies with Racing Bulls. They must decide if holding on to Ricciardo and his sponsors is worth more than placing their bets on fresh talent like Lawson. Some argue that with Lawson or even up-and-coming talents like Isaac Hadjar, Racing Bulls could attract new sponsorships aligned with their future goals. However, This situation in Singapore exposed how closely tied Red Bull and Racing Bulls are, making any decision more complex. Ricciardo isn't technically a Racing Bulls driver, he's on loan from Red Bull. Before the Singapore GP, many believed Ricciardo would be replaced by Lawson from the Austin race onwards. There's a clause requiring Lawson to compete in at least 5 races in 2024, a common practice for Red Bull in managing young drivers. In 2006, Red Bull employed a similar strategy to bring in Sebastian Vettel. Thus, Ricciardo's fate not only affects his own future but also impacts the Red Bull Academy's entire strategy for nurturing new talent. Ricciardo's status isn't just about one driver, it could reshape the entire Red Bull ecosystem. The debate over Lawson's future has even reignited talks about him racing outside the Red Bull network. However, the only available seat is at Sauber, which has already ruled out Lawson as a contender. This situation is far from ideal for the 22-year-old, who has faced a rollercoaster of treatment from the Austrian team. Ricciardo's case also exposes the darker side of Formula One. Influence often extends beyond performance on the track. Many have criticized the involvement of sponsors like Visa and Cash App, seeing it as pure marketing instead of genuine racing support. Nonetheless, their power is undeniable. Racing Bulls find themselves in a tough spot. They must choose between satisfying their major sponsors or focusing on nurturing future stars like Lawson. The awkward and seemingly unprofessional handling of Ricciardo's situation in Singapore reflects the tangled web of decisions the team faces. Ricciardo's association with Racing Bulls complicates matters since he is technically on loan from Red Bull. Before the Singapore GP, rumors swirled that Lawson would replace Ricciardo starting from Austin, given a clause requiring Lawson to race in at least 5 events in 2024. This isn't a new strategy. Red Bull used a similar approach when bringing Sebastian Vettel into the spotlight in 2006. But now, Ricciardo's future has a far-reaching impact, especially on sponsors like Visa and Cash App. They could pull their support if he is sidelined, creating a financial dilemma. Racing Bull's decision will ripple through their entire talent development, affecting not just Ricciardo but also the upcoming stars nurtured in Red Bull's academy. And while the world watches, one question lingers: will Racing Bulls prioritize money and existing partnerships, or will they take the risk to promote fresh talent? The ball is now firmly in their court, and every move will shape the team's future. The tension in Racing Bulls camp is at its peak. On one hand, you have Ricciardo, a seasoned driver with a loyal fan base and major sponsors rallying behind him. On the other, there's Lawson, a rising star eager to make his mark in Formula One. The situation in Singapore revealed just how interconnected Racing Bulls and Red Bull truly are, adding layers of complexity to any decision. Remember, Ricciardo isn't just a driver, he's a brand ambassador. His presence brings media attention, sponsorship money, and global fan engagement. Losing him could mean a significant drop in the team's visibility, especially on race weekends. But talent development is crucial too. Racing Bulls have always prided themselves on bringing new faces into the sport. However, this time, it's not just about nurturing talent, it's a high-stakes business move. They must weigh Ricciardo's influence against the potential Lawson brings, all while keeping their sponsors and fans in mind. Visa and Cash App's involvement in Ricciardo's case raises the stakes. Racing Bulls must decide if keeping Ricciardo's backers satisfied outweighs the potential gains of investing in Lawson. It's not about questioning Lawson's skill, he's shown the drive and ambition to excel. But in Formula One, skill isn't the only currency. The Singapore situation showed how awkwardly things can unfold when business interests collide with sporting ambitions. Ricciardo's actions on the track during that race almost felt like a farewell, yet nothing concrete has been decided. This uncertainty leaves Racing Bulls at a crossroads. They could keep Ricciardo, appease the sponsors, and secure their financial footing, or they could roll the dice on Lawson, hoping that new successes attract other big names. It's a gamble either way. The choice they make will not only affect their team's future, but also how sponsors view their commitment to nurturing raw talent in Formula One's competitive arena. As the dust settles, the entire motorsport world watches Racing Bulls. They hold the power to either continue with Ricciardo, securing their sponsorships and financial stability, or take a risk on Lawson, betting on future success to lure in new investors. It's a complex chess game where every move could change the team's trajectory. Ricciardo, with his experience and charisma, brings more than just driving skills to the table. His presence boosts the team's image, making it easier to attract top-tier sponsors. Yet, holding onto him might mean missing out on nurturing a future star in Lawson. The Singapore GP acted as a spotlight on these underlying tensions. Will the team's decision lean towards preserving Ricciardo's influence, showing that sponsorships truly rule the sport, or will they embrace change, pushing Lawson into the spotlight? One thing's for sure, the outcome will echo through the racing community for years to come. What's your take on this saga? Share your thoughts in the comments. And that wraps up this dramatic story from the world of Formula One. The tension between sponsorships and rising talent shows how complex this sport truly is. What happens next could redefine the future of racing bulls and leave a lasting impact on F1. Will they choose to secure their financial backing with Ricciardo, or take a bold step towards new talent with Lawson? Your guess is as good as ours. This story isn't just about racing, it's about power, money, and the thrill of competition. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell us who you think should take the wheel next season. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the high-stakes world of Formula One, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more exciting stories from the racing world. Check out the next video on your screen for another gripping tale. Until next time, stay fast, stay curious, and keep racing.